Welcome to Who Did That Voice, the show where we take an in-depth look at voiceover. And now, here's your host, Trenton Larkin.
Hello everyone and welcome to Who Did That Voice? This is the About Me episode. I am really excited to share my vision for this podcast with you, and then I'd like to tell you a little bit about me. First off, I want to mention that today's show will be shorter than your regularly scheduled program, since its sole purpose is to serve as an introduction to both myself and my podcast. What you can expect from this podcast are episodes that are 30 to 35 minutes in length, and they will cover a variety of various topics and in-depth interviews with those involved in the voiceover industry. One new episode will be released every Friday at midnight Eastern Standard Time. That way, as soon as you wake each Friday morning, a new episode will be there waiting to accompany you as you get ready for the day ahead, on your commute to work, during your daily workout, or during any daily activity when you decide you need to know who did that voice. Together, we will dive into the world of voiceover, learn about the actors behind the voices, and discover all things VO. Here is a fun fact. The abbreviation VO stands for voiceover. This podcast show was designed to educate, inspire, and motivate. It is my desire to grow and enhance your knowledge of voiceovers and the voiceover industry by bringing you empowering stories of voiceover professionals from the past, present, and future. Episode 1 kicks us off with an amazing interview that you will not want to miss. And following this About Me episode, there are 3 full-length episodes just waiting for you to explore what you can expect on your Friday mornings to come. Hey everyone, before I get started telling you about me, I would like to invite you to visit my website, whodidthatvoice.co or whodidthatvoice.org. Growing up in the Larkin family meant that my upbringing would be filled with a diverse background in the cultural arts. I grew up listening to those read-along records with my mother, and she would read the books to me as we listened together. My family listened to a variety of different radio dramas. We watched the classic animated and feature films. We went to see musicals at the Dallas Summer Music Hall, and we listened to all kinds of music growing up, from the Carpenters to the Beach Boys and more. So you see, my childhood was quite different from most boys my age. My dad and I didn't do the typical things dads do with their sons, such as work on cars or watch sports. As far back as I can remember, my dad would make all kinds of funny voices to try to make us kids laugh. One day, as a boy of about 4 years old, my dad did something that beyond surprised me. It inspired me. He was doing his funny voices when all of a sudden, he imitated the voice of Marvin the Martian. My jaw literally dropped, and I stared up at my dad with my big, bright 4-year-old eyes in astonishment. I could not believe my ears. Was it possible that my dad just did the voice from one of my favorite cartoon characters? Sure enough, he did it again. This time, I knew it was real. I asked myself, if my dad can do Marvin's voice, then who is the actor who did that voice? So you see, from a very young age, I began to ask myself the very question that gave life to my podcast. After my dad imitated Marvin's voice, I started trying to imitate him as well. Marvin was my first attempt at mimicry. And as you can probably imagine, Marvin holds a very special place in my heart and in my repertoire of voices. Since my initial attempt at mimicry, I have imitated other characters, created my own characters, tried different accents, and so much more. So as you can see, voiceover became my passion long before I knew what they were even called. Sometimes, a passion can be so strong that you just can't keep it to yourself. And that's exactly what happened with me and why I created this podcast, so that I could share my passion for voiceover with you. My journey into podcasting truly began when I was a door-to-door salesman. I was out in the heat all day, knocking on doors, and people were hardly ever home. And the ones who were home were always very cautious and suspicious. Heck, when I'm on the other side of the door, I know exactly how these people feel, especially in today's day and age. One day, while on lunch, I decided to check out my podcast app on my iPhone. Now, I've always been very fascinated with voiceovers and had heard podcasting was a great way to share your interests and ideas with others. So I went looking for something to give me guidance, something that would show me the way. What I found was the free podcast course by John Lee Dumas. Listening to John's podcast helped give me the tools I needed to turn my dreams into a reality. When I first discovered John's podcast, I was a newly married man of only about 2 or 3 months. So between John's teachings and becoming a newly wedded husband, my desire to complete my college education became stronger than ever. Both my marriage to my lovely wife and John's teachings inspired and motivated me to get back on my feet and finish college. On May of 2016, I graduated from Oklahoma City Community College with an associate's degree in psychology. I even maintained a high enough GPA to graduate with honors, and I was invited to join the ranks of the honor society known as Phi Theta Kappa. In the fall of 2016, I will be continuing my college education at UCO, which stands for the University of Central Oklahoma, where I will study mass communications with a specialty in professional media. This degree will teach me more about podcasting, broadcasting for radio and television, journalism, and so much more. As I briefly mentioned before, I do have a wife, and her name is Jessica. She is my very best friend and the love of my life. Something I hadn't mentioned before is that I'm a born and raised Texan, and she is a woman who relocated to Oklahoma about 22 years ago. We met on eHarmony back in 2014, and we dated back and forth, taking road trips to each other's states. That is how I met and fell in love with my beautiful wife, and on April 25th of 2015, I married my best friend in the whole wide world. After we got married, it was off to the airport to catch our flight to Florida to visit the magical world of Walt Disney. But as you know, all good things must come to an end, and after a wonderful week at Walt Disney World, it was time to head home. And you know what they say about home. Home is where the heart is. And this Texas heart was stolen by an Oklahoman. So that's where we decided to settle down as we began our married life. My beautiful wife is my biggest supporter, and so I say a special thank you to her for all she has sacrificed and done to help this podcast become a reality. She has helped love me, support me, and encourage me during the creation and launch of my podcast. And to her, I say thank you, and Jessica, I love you with all my heart. So now you know the story of me and how this podcast came to be. I hope you enjoyed getting to know more about this show and what you can expect in the days ahead. My hope is that with each new episode, I can reach out to entertain and educate my listeners. Does winning free stuff get you excited? Every Friday, we will have a giveaway where one lucky listener will become our winner of the week. All you have to do is like our Facebook page or follow us on Twitter. Enter hashtag plus the special word of the week, and you'll be entered for your chance to win. If you post on both Facebook and Twitter, this will double your chances of winning. You can find both our Facebook and Twitter pages by searching Who Did That Voice? Don't have a Facebook or Twitter account? No problem. Just send an email to me on the Contact Me page at whodidthatvoice.co. Use the hashtag plus the word of the week for your chance to win. Well, everyone, that's all the time we have for this episode. Thanks for joining me today. And don't forget, episodes 1, 2, and 3 will be right after this. Hey, are you ready to win some awesome prizes? Each week, one lucky listener will have the chance to become the winner of our giveaway. All you have to do is like our Facebook page or follow us on Twitter. Enter hashtag plus the special word of the week for your chance to win. Today's word of the week is hashtag Who Did That Voice? I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And if you did, please stop on by my Contact Me page at whodidthatvoice.co.
Thank you for joining us today. We'll see you next time for more discoveries on Who Did That Voice.